Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. If you are new, welcome. If you are coming back, welcome back. I'm so glad to have you. My name is Cassie, and on this channel, we talk all things of healing, self-love, and self-care, and of course, becoming your dream woman. And on today's episode, we are going to talk about how our thoughts really control how our lives flourish. Honest, I try to come on here and be positive and uplifting and everything like that, because there is definitely enough negativity going around in the world for everybody that we don't need any more of that. But I'm not trying to be negative today. I'm just going to talk a little bit of what is going on in my life and being a little real and raw with you. To be honest, this last year or so has been a hard season. Coming out of the snake year, which was a year of shedding, reflection, healing, releasing, it took a lot out of me. And I know that I am not the only one who has felt the pressure of that snake year. And now we're here in March, which the snake year technically ended in February, like February 17th. And now we are in the horse year, the fire horse. So everything is going to be a bit more amplified, faster. And that's why, we had to do all of that healing to be in the good mindset and the good condition for things to start taking off a little bit faster than what it was. The snake year, you have to kind of think, right? The snakes are usually like slow and steady and all of that, but a horse is usually, they're fast, and then you put that fire behind it and it's even faster. Which I'm really excited for that, because I am a Sagittarius, so I'm a fire sign, and I do like things to go in a faster motion. I'm a bit impatient. This is going to be hopefully something that I am going to be able to use for my benefits. So we're in March, the beginning of March. Today's March 1st, actually. So hello, welcome March, and welcome to the new month. Now the weather is trying to turn here in New York, and we're kind of getting like this crazy weather where today's 26, but Thursday or Friday it's supposed to be in the 70s. So somewhere in the northeastern like I do, you will understand, just because we get a 50-degree day doesn't mean that we are necessarily out of the winter months, right? We can usually get snow all the way up until April, sometimes even May. But you know what? I will take this nice weather while it's here, and I will enjoy it, because honestly, I need it. I not only need this nicer weather, but I also feel like that is where I am in this season. I'm kind of in between, where I'm not fully where I want to be, but I'm not quite in my old life neither, right? I've let go of the old version of me, but I'm not fully into this new version of me. And being in this in-between stage has been hard. What I used to do is no longer working for me in this season, right? The things that I used to find to be a bit enjoyable. Now, some things I still do, but there was a lot that I had to peel away that really wasn't for the highest version of me. With that being said, this winter definitely, took a toll. A lot of times they do say that a lot of people get depressed in the winter with the gray skies, the colder weather, and all of that. And with me, I love being outdoors. I love being by the water, watching the sunrises and the sunsets, and riding my bike, and just being. And when you've been kind of stuck inside for months, it starts to affect your nervous system, and it affects your joy, and it also starts to affect your thoughts. And even when I have tried to stay positive, it has been challenging to do. Those negative thoughts are kind of getting a little bit louder. And, those thoughts, of course, of, oh, this is happening, or, oh, of course that would happen. That narrative has been happening a lot, and it's been showing up a lot easier these days. And it's also been harder to stick to the positive story than it has been in the past. Just my reality right now, right? The things that used to help keep me in a more positive mindset isn't quite working today. It's been a bit challenging to kind of balance it all. So I'm really hoping, if you watched my last video, I talked about my whole reset, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that today as well. But I also wanted to talk about this other little story that kind of helps bring in some of the positive thoughts into my life. And I talked about this previously, but I didn't get into great detail. In December, I moved into my new place, and my new place has a sump pump. And honestly, I thought the sump pump would be good as long as I had power, right? As long as I had power, the thing was working, everything would be great. But that did not stand true. Last week we were having some nicer weather as well. It's been like a mixture of this. Spring is trying to show its head, but the winter kind of doesn't want to give up quite yet neither. So we started getting some nicer weather, which caused a lot of the snow to start melting, which then caused the water to start draining into the sump pump. And I didn't go down there for like a day because I didn't have any laundry to do. I didn't take anything out of the freezer, whatever the case may be. I didn't need to go down there. And then I go to the landing to get my dog food, to feed my dog the next, one morning. It was a Saturday morning, last Saturday morning. And I see this glycerin coming from my basement. And my basement flooded. And it was very frustrating, right? I'm like, what is going on? So I walked down there, which I probably shouldn't have, but I walked down there. I felt seeing that the sump pump wasn't working. So I am not a sump pump girl. Like, I didn't know nothing really about that. And I didn't really think anything of it because, like I said, I thought as long as I had power, I was good with this thing. I go to Facebook because it's like 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday. I called my landlord. He didn't answer. I need help. I'm trying to figure this thing out, right? I go to Facebook and finally somebody tells me to wiggle this thing or whatnot. I wiggle it and it sounds like it turns on, but it's like not draining as fast as what I thought it should. So then I'm praying that I'm not going to get electrocuted because there's water and stuff like that in the basement and all of that. So I get my mop bucket and I start getting water, and I am not thinking clearly, but so I'm dumping the water in the sink, right? And I'm like, oh, the water's not going down. Okay. So that's not going to be where I'm going to dump this water. So then I, take the water and I go upstairs and I'm dumping it outside, and I'm just trying to do my best to get rid of this water. And finally, the water starts, going down and all of that. And thankfully I didn't have a ton of damage, but that was very, frustrating and, a big light bulb moment for me. Okay, the landlord said sometimes this the flood thing gets stuck, right? Something gets stuck. So I became like super annoyed about it happening again. So I was like waking up in the middle of the night to make sure that this wasn't going to happen because, I just didn't want to deal with any more flooding. And so the other day, just a couple days ago, I was home, thankfully, and I'm like hearing these loud noises coming from the basement. And I'm like, what is going on? So I go down there. Thankfully, God was getting my attention with these loud noises, and I did listen. When I got down there, the water was filled to the brim of the pump. I'm like, oh my goodness. I wiggle the thing again because the flash thing got stuck again, and I was like, this is not for me, right? They're texting my landlord and I'm like, look, I'm really thinking that this needs to be replaced because it's very uncomfortable for me, right? To continually be in fear of this happening, not being like comfortable with leaving the house. Or I left that message, and thankfully, he did end up calling me this morning. I was like, hey, I've got the sump pump. I would like to come over and change it out for you. And so he came over. I cleared my schedule after he called. I was at the gym, so I finished up my gym sesh. I came home and I cleared the rest of my schedule because I really wasn't sure how long it was going to take and all of that. So thankfully, he changed it out, and so far, so good. And from what I've heard, because I did go and ask other people on Facebook, because like I said, I didn't really know anybody who has a sump pump, and I've never had one before. So I really wasn't sure what to expect with this. And that when they were having these problems and they ended up changing out their sump pump, that they no longer had any issues with like flooding and the flash getting stuck and things like that. So I'm praying, crossing my fingers that this is going to work out my benefits and that everything is going to be fine. And I guess this coming week is going to be a great test to that all, because again, with the warmer weather, we're going to be getting some rain, and then also with the snow melting. So we'll see how well the sump pump works and if it's going to get stuck or whatnot. Cross my fingers, but that was a very positive thing, right? That okay, I didn't have to, put too much pressure on the landlord. He kind of got the gist of my tone and this is not ideal for me. I'm not going to do this. And I was figuring out if he wasn't going to change it, then I would have to find somewhere else to move in a couple months, because my lease is up in a couple months. I was thinking oh man, worrying about that. But God was kind of putting that on my spirit. Don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. I'm going to work it out. And he definitely did, because the landlord, like I said, called me this morning. He had the sump pump and he took action, and I'm very pleased with that. And so, that kind of hit me okay, we got to just think more positive about the situation, right? So last night I did do a little bit of affirming, saying, yep, my landlord's going to change the sump pump with no problem. Yes, he wants to make sure that I'm comfortable and things like that. And it worked out. And so I'm not saying that all of affirming is going to work that fast, but I am very excited that this is something, hopefully, that I won't have to, be stressed about in the future. And so that leads me into saying this. We cannot judge our life by what the 3D is currently showing us. 3D is showing us our past thoughts, our past beliefs, and our past manifestations. For instance, I was manifesting moving in April, May, June of last year, and I moved in December, right? So it took about 6 months for all of that to kind of come into fruition of that. Not to mention some things that I've been manifesting for months now is just kind of starting to sprout a little bit in showing that it may happen. So we can't measure our current situation accurately to reflect in if we are going the right way or not. So some things in my life, right now, like I kind of mentioned, I manifested months ago, which means that what I'm thinking today may take months or longer to show up in my life. We cannot keep using our present circumstances as proof of if we are winning or losing. I kind of did do that, right? And I've shared that in some other videos, and it kind of got me into a little negative mindset with that. This is not only in our life, but this can also be true in our business as well. We're showing up for our business and we are looking to have things happen immediately, but sometimes we have to just have blind faith that things are going to work out, right? Because you are co-creating with God in everything that you do in your life, regardless if you really realize it or not, okay? And if you believe God like I do, then you have to understand some powerful things. God promises your purpose. God promises calling. God promises destiny. But he does not promise ease. So we hear, God is loving, God is kind, and we kind of imagine then like flowers and rainbows coming because God is going to pave the path for us. But he also uses this time and these different circumstances to prune us. He loves to stretch us, to test us, and to refine us. Because if we were handed everything immediately, most of us wouldn't have the capacity to hold it. And honestly, if certain things had happened to me sooner, I probably would have self-sabotaged them anyways. And that was a hard reality for me to be honest with about myself, right? As much as I wanted these things to happen for me, the reality of it, especially going through all of the healing and things that I did last year, that I would have definitely self-sabotaged myself. Things that would have quietly destroyed the very blessings that I've been praying for would have been taken away because of my self-sabotaging ways. While I've been kind of impatiently but patiently waiting, I've also felt a bit defeated in this process. And I've wondered, like, when am I going to be ready at this point, right? I've been doing a lot of work. I've been doing a lot of positive things, but I'm also realizing that maybe this preparation was mercy, right? Because how embarrassing it would be for me to get to this place that I've been praying for it to all crumble down because I didn't have the capacity to hold it, the knowledge to take care of it, and the love and patience that you're going to need to be able to make sure that you take care of it so it stands and it grows and it becomes what it's supposed to. And that, also led to another kind of dynamic, right? Be feeling kind of defeated and like a little negative and trying to figure out where life was going to take me and if things were going to truly be able to flourish and things like that. I've been seeing some women give up on like their luxury apartments and they're choosing to now live in their cars. And some of them say that they think that maybe the American dream is dead. I actually kind of was questioning that myself. Like, wow, is it dead? Because, with inflation and things like that, you could kind of get caught up in that thought process. But I had to be honest with myself and I refuse to believe that, right? Because what you believe is what you reflect in your life and what you attract in your life. So I refuse to adopt that belief as my reality because you don't get what you want, right? What you believe, you get what you constantly focus on. And if you focus on the lack, you're going to multiply that lack in your life. If you rehearse defeats, you strengthen that defeat. And it is easy to repeat the negative story, okay? I know. I could do that personally, like with my eyes closed and not even think twice about it. Of course this happened. Nothing ever works out for me. This is just how life is. How many times have you said that to yourself, right? Or something in that realm. And that repetition actually becomes your new identity. We're not here to do that anymore, right? We are changing that identity. We're not going to focus on the negative things. We're going to focus on bringing those positive things into fruition, right? You want to expand your income. You want your life to be beautiful in your dream life. Well, we are going to have to really go back to those positive thoughts and those positive actions to really truly be able to see that in our life. And so that brings up that you have to stay persistent in the story that you want. Yes. Even when the 3D isn't cooperating with us. Even when you feel tired, you feel behind, you feel like your timeline looks like nothing like you thought it would be by now. Oh, yes. But the one thing that guarantees that you won't receive it is giving up. I used to give up. I've come too far to give up on my dream life, okay? I've worked my butt off and I'm not giving up. So I am expecting miracles this year. And I expect miracles in my relationships, in my business, in my finances, in my healing, in all areas of my life. I am expecting God's miracles to come through. Not because everything looks perfect right now, but because I refuse to keep rehearsing the defeat. With all that being said, you can't control the how, right? So you have to take the control part out of this. And this is one of the hardest parts of it all, right? Because we love to try to have control over our destiny. In your heart, then it is possible for you. And you have to really know that and believe that deep down. Because God does not put desires in your heart that are impossible for you to fulfill. He puts certain desires and certain things in certain people's spirits, right? That's your purpose. That's what you were created to do. So the people who have, created electricity and light bulbs and all those things, those people were able to do it because God put those desires and that ability into their spirit. I never put that in my spirit because I would have never been able to create that because God doesn't want me to do that. So hope that kind of helps, because you don't get to control the how. You don't get to control the exact timeline on it either. No. And you don't always get the rose-covered path neither. Sometimes you have to walk through the rocky road before you get to reach the orchard of beautiful flowers on the other end. And that doesn't mean that you're off track. It just means that you're being strengthened, you are being stretched, and you are becoming a new version of you. And if you are a believer, this is why it's so important to be in God's word. Because when you read the Bible, when you build a relationship with God, you can see his patterns. He doesn't do things the way that our human minds would expect. The promises rarely come in the way that we even imagine it to. And the preparation season is almost always longer than what we ever could have imagined. But the outcome is usually greater than that we could have ever planned. I needed this reminder myself because, like I said, it's been just a lot of things coming up for me, and it's not been a complete easy season. So I'm giving this word for you too, and that little reminder. Don't try to control how things are going to be done. Don't try to make things happen either, because that's just going to not be in your best interest neither. Okay. We're going to kind of touch on the March reset, right? Because it's March 1st. This is the reset month. It's been all of the healing and all of that has it's been a lot. So I chose March. Well, I don't even think I really chose it, right? Because God put this in my spirit, and it's so funny because we have a lunar eclipse in a couple days, and this lunar eclipse is also about resetting this new era, this new thing. I'm kind of just feeling that this is a reset time, and so if you're feeling that maybe you need this reset as well, don't underestimate that feeling. Go with it, because that's God trying to tell you that, hey, we need to start taking a different path, because what we have been doing hasn't been for our highest good. And I'll praise the Lord. I know that for a fact. I'm choosing this March reset, not because everything is magically perfect, but because I'm actually choosing a new story. I'm done entertaining the thoughts of I'm behind, it's not working, it's too hard, maybe this isn't meant for me. We are no longer doing that anymore, okay? Because those are lots of thoughts that have been showing up in my field these last few months. And we are going to start focusing on the small wins. My sump pump being replaced without was just pretty easy. I'll take it. That's a win. I'm having gratitude, and I haven't stopped having gratitude. I've been really still practicing my gratitude journal, but we're going to go a little deeper in that. And having blind faith. And sometimes this is hard, especially when we are not seeing the changes or feeling the goodness of things. Having the blind faith that God didn't bring you this far to leave you, right? And that's what I have to kind of keep telling myself. Why would He have led me to heal and do all of these amazing things that I've been doing for the rest of it not to come into fruition that He's promised me? We're going to keep with the blind faith. And also consistency. Consistency is huge. And I've been off of this consistency for a little while too, between the move and the healing and everything like that. It's been kind of hard to be consistent with my daily activities and things like that, because some days I'm exhausted, some days I have energy, some days I feel like I can move the moon, and some days I feel like I can't move an ounce of anything, you know? So that is definitely something that I'm going to have to really try to work on a little harder in this season. And then also persistence, right? Persisting through the story that you truly want, no matter what is happening in your life. And sometimes that can be really hard too, but we have to remember that the 3D is our old story, not the new story. So we have to keep on persisting until we get to the new story. Just a little reminder that anything is possible as long as you never give up to achieve it. If the desire is in your heart, it's there for a reason. It may not look how you imagined. It may not come when you demand it to, but you cannot quit before the breakthrough. So stay persistent, stay faithful, and stay aligned with the woman who you are becoming. Because the version of you who has everything you want, she doesn't quit in March. She resets and she goes for it. So I love you, and I will talk to you in the next one.